It was a unanimous decision. I mean, there was absolutely no doubt in all juries' minds that we were looking for content, for a piece that had something to say. And this piece really stood out in terms of what it had to say, in terms of what it had to address.
Yes, it was made 2 years ago on the peak of the spy activities in Germany. And it's a piece which deals with the fact that a spy who is listening to you have to listen to you, so you can talk back. And this is also the title of the piece. It's called "Can You Hear Me?" And it enables people, especially around the Brandenburg Gate, to more or less bring information into the American and British embassy via very nice kind of DIY-made antenna. So it enables people to talk to the spies and asking them questions. There was a very nice question I remember was, "Hey spy, how do you twist your life story and which want to tell you to your grandchildren or
yes,
something?"
That's right. Yeah.
But even it became a kind of depot of whistleblowing information, and they gathered information even from the German Parliament classified files. So
Yep.
it really is dealing with this kind of moment in time where we have to talk back.
Yeah, and of course it positioned itself in that environment. The most important thing is it took itself out of a gallery and actually went and occupied the space that was at the intersection of all the spy interference. So it disrupted it, it infiltrated. It created a beautiful piece that was, it's this kind of wonderful thing of low-tech manufacturing of something that is really eye-catching, that everybody notices, and then they have to make sense of. And they have to start a dialogue. And this is what we find that it's really interesting about what interaction is doing. I mean, interaction is completely pervasive. And the tools that we now have available allow us to plant ourselves into these situations and start a dialogue with each one of these areas of human activity in situ, which is really interesting now.
Yes, there was no moment where we said what is interactive art, because in a way the term became obsolete. Therefore, also the Ars Electronica decided to make a plus behind it,
That's
which
right.
opens the whole thing up.
Yeah.
So we don't want to talk about interactive art anymore. It's a category. It's fine. People know what they have to submit. But the definition of interactivity, how it came up in the 80s and 90s, coming from psychology as a term, then being coined only as a term in media art, is obsolete, as we all know. But it's a nice reference to where Ars Electronica came from and where our category came from.
Well, it's become pervasive. It's completely pervasive. So it occupies all of the spaces of human activity now, as we just mentioned with the main piece. And of course, you can decide to interact with politics, and you can decide to interact. This piece is interacting with politics and economy, and actually, even sort of issues like the refugee crisis, etc. By opening this dialogue, right? So it actually gives you the tools now to implant yourself in science, or amongst social issues, and really contribute to the questioning and to the revealing of certain aspects of these areas that perhaps otherwise you may not. And so, it's pervasive. So in that sense, we feel it's like computer art in a sense that, it's not...
So we have so many, let's say, subcategories, and a subcategory under the term of probably media art or new media art. So we awarded very poetic kind of mechatronic pieces who are organizing stones in space. We have a dance piece which is driven by software.
Yeah.
We have poetic pieces where things are happening out in the forest, and it goes up to hardware-coded algorithm who creates music in physical space. So it's a whole variety, more or less, and there's nothing. Let's say there's not a very specific tendency at the moment which you can observe in terms of how people or how artists express with new media. I think the whole category or the whole medium became matured, and it's now used very, I'd say, very normally.
Absolutely. And if anything, if you look at the collective of the project we have in front of us, it does give you a really nice reflection of where we're all at. As a kind of, in terms of our concerns as human beings, in terms of what worries us, which is what we should be doing. But really as a collection, you know, that's really quite it's actually as a collection is quite, really very powerful, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so it's this kind of, let's say, variety in strategies of how to convey information in a wide variety of topics. So you compared to, let's say, 15 years ago, computational was the big thing. Computational art was the big thing. It's not really something which stood out this year. So it was also integrated in all, and let's say embraced in all forms of communication. So we would say there is nothing which can be specifically put out and brought onto a silver tablet.
No, it is a collection of the collective thought, I think, of all of these things. They do come across as powerful in their collection, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I think we've all felt that in the jury. But it actually says something about where this whole area has matured to. Yeah. And the medium is not the focus of course anymore. Yeah.
Let's start with the second part of the question. There is no new way, so nothing which stood out. And actually, I had been in several juries over the last 15 years, and it's the first time where we didn't had one piece which really stood out and had been a kind of new paradigm shift in our field. So it goes with what we mentioned before. It is matured, it's now on a good quality, but we haven't seen one piece which really surprised us.
But that's not necessarily, don't take it as a bad thing. It's like when you're inventing a language, and then you invent a new term, and you get excited about it, and you invent another new term, and then the language becomes fluent. And you can start talking beyond the actual analysis of the terms of the language. And this language has really got to the point where we can totally develop the discourse now, and that's what's exciting about it.
Yeah. The grammar is done, and now you can write poems or textbooks.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and it's beautiful. Yeah.